Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome back to another Show and Tell Tuesday live stream Instagram chat. So happy to have you with us. If you're out there now and you want to say hi, say hello. Ah, there we go. So great to see you. Sometimes I wish I could link the person to their tag or their handle. You know what? I got a lot to learn about this, but thanks so much for joining us today. I'm really excited. We are bringing in someone to chat with who is a friend of mine, a fantastic artist, and a lot of you might know them from the living room community where she was a coordinator for many years, and she still is. Christine Wyrd is going to be joining us today. And you know what, to be honest, you'll probably see me bringing in each and every coordinator at some point for a Show and Tell Tuesday. And that's just because each one of them has so many amazing things that they're doing. And they're using this time so creatively to connect with themselves, to connect with others, to show that creative support to the community. Yeah, I love my coordinators. They're awesome, and they're not mine. I do not own them, but you know what I'm saying. I hope everyone's doing okay out there. Let's see. Oh, that's a good thing. So let's see who we got here. Now, oh, and Steph Belding's there. Hi, Steph Belding. You're someone I might want to have on for a Show and Tell Tuesday chat one of these days. See, there's so many amazing creative folks who are just out there, and I want to know what you're doing. And I think our community would like to know what you're doing too. Okay. So why don't I invite, let's see if I can invite Christine on. Christine, if you can say hello again and just let me know who you are, because I'm beginning to think that I might not know what your tag is either. So let's see. Let's see if Christine's going to be there. Just wave again. Say hi. In the meantime, guys, is anyone else waiting for a little more sunshine in their days here? We, at least in Durham region, had a lovely sunshiny day yesterday, and today it's gone all gray and chilly again. So I'm hoping that bodes well for a lovely warm summer, but we'll hang in there. We'll get through this together. And who else do we have? Oh, wow. And Ann Tipper. Hello, hello. Let's see. Now, is this Christine? Christine, let me know what your handle is if I've not seen you yet. Just identify yourself and say Christine Wyrd here. Hello. There's Christine Wyrd. Okay. Fantastic. So, without further ado, I'm going to invite Christine to this party so I can stop rambling at you. Boop, boop, boop. And let's see. Come on. Oh dear, come on. Okay, so this is one of those moments where I press the device in front of me repeatedly and nothing seems to happen. Are you guys enjoying this? Okay, let's try one more time. No, I don't want to do that. Let's see. Oh, Christine, can you say hello one more time? One more time. Yes, Durham Diggs. I see you laughing at me. So let's see. Let's go here. And there we go. Finally. Boop. Let's see what happens. Okay. All right. Is Christine, I'm conjuring Christine. Hey!
It worked.
It worked.
Everyone can see? Okay, yeah.
Cool. Yes, we can see you. Oh, Christine, it's good to see your face.
Yeah. It's good to see you too. It's so weird. Like we're meeting like we're at the studio, but not really.
Well, that's hopefully the point behind this too. Until we can connect again in person, we'll find ways to connect with people in the community online. And what I'm really excited about this time as well, because there's plenty of creative people out there who maybe don't live in Durham region that I'd also like to invite on to connect with. People who do different things in different creative fields, things that you don't often see get to see up close in Oshawa. So, but that's for another time. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Just staying busy, because we're all cooped up and just trying to find things to do, watching a lot of Netflix.
I don't think you're alone there. Well, for other folks who don't know you as well as I do, can you introduce yourself and your creative process, what kind of things you do, what kind of artist you are?
Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Christine. I'm an artist and a writer from Tennessee. I've lived in Canada for about 5 years now. Yeah. I had to do the math. I was like, how long have I been here?
I forget too.
Yeah, I work mostly in watercolor, acrylic. I do like the odd collage and some Photoshop, and I like to play around and mix media together. So.
And you're also a writer as well, yeah?
Oh, yes. I always forget that part. Yeah. Yeah, I write a lot.
Do you write any one specific thing or within any genre or just whatever comes to mind?
I write mostly fantasy and fiction, even when I'm writing about real life, which sounds kind of weird because I think sometimes we get caught up in the facts and lose the message of a story. So that's one reason why I love historical fiction. Kind of focuses on like how people feel at the time. I also write a lot of really dry, boring stuff about psychology and neuroscience because that's my passion. No one's making me do it. I just love to write about it. And do research, so.
You're not doing it for school or any kind of academic journal just because you love it.
Yeah, I write essays because I like it.
That's amazing.
I'm a nerd.
No, I love that. When people, it's so funny, you know, talking to friends or colleagues about what they're nerdy about, and everyone has a genre. I realized I don't have a genre. My genre is I'm nerdy about nerdy people. I'm nerdy about people who are passionate about specific things. And it's almost like I can't choose what to be nerdy about. So you have your thing. That's amazing. You've found it. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into this then, because I don't know, for those of you who aren't familiar with Christine's work, I was really, really, really lucky. Before we all kind of went into self-quarantine, I had a chance to go to the Women's Maker Market and actually purchase a beautiful original watercolor by Christine.
Oh, thank you.
And I love it. So I'm just going to hold it up here so folks can see. Ooh.
Oh, is it in a frame? No, that's the mat.
It's the mat, but it's beautiful.
Thank you. That's one of my favorites. I love purple.
I love everything. I love everything about this piece. And I find when I look at, like I've seen you at the studio create in so many different ways and many different styles, but lately, anyways, the last few years, it seems to be, yeah, I know it's beautiful, right? There seems to be a graphic quality, a tattoo-esque quality. I don't know if that's correct of me to say. It feels influenced by something. Where do you gather your influences from for your visual work?
Tattoos are part of it. Like, I love so many different styles, so finding my own style or voice has been really hard. And then I just decided that's my voice. It's just being all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And for the past few years, tattoos have fascinated me because it is one of the weirdest things that humans do. Other animals do alter themselves.
Really?
But yeah, but it's very rare. Like there's a type of buzzard that will find a certain type of red clay and dye its feathers red.
For what purpose?
Like they don't know. They actually think it's just decorative. Like it doesn't seem to have any, it doesn't protect it from anything or.
Amazing.
They just dye their feathers and look cool. So, but really we're the only creatures that like draw and paint on our bodies, right? So tattoos are just so cool. It's one of the oldest art forms in the world that we know of. Like they have found tattoo tools from like so long ago. It was like prehistory, you know, like way before the pyramids. So anyway, it's always fascinated me.
Yeah.
But I don't feel comfortable just drawing on someone's body. So you can, you know, recreate it with watercolors, that kind of style. So it lets me kind of explore that really interesting thing about tattoos and why they look the way that they do. You know, it's usually very strong line work.
Yeah.
But I like to just do it on paper and not on a person. So
if I wanted to commission a piece, I'm one of those people who keeps threatening to get a tattoo and then never does. And it's not because I don't want one, it's just because I don't know where to begin or what to begin with. But if I wanted to commission something from you during this time, perhaps I could throw something your way. Hear that, people?
Yeah, I've actually done that quite a bit, like since I was a teenager, because I've always been fascinated with tattoo art, but the last few years for sure, I've just been practicing it more and more and studying like the history of tattoos. And so people, I'll draw them something and then they'll take it to the tattoo artist. I always will say when I do commissions like that,
Yeah.
let the tattoo artist do their own thing with it, because drawing on a piece of paper is very different than drawing on your body. So the tattoo artist has permission to alter anything. But yeah, I've done that before. So if anyone wants me to do that, I can.
That's lovely. I love that idea. I love the idea as well. And hello, Kate. Hello to everyone who's joining. Thank you. Hello. I love that you leave room for a collaboration with the other artist in that relationship.
Yeah.
That's what makes you so amazing. You're so very thoughtful in ways that I am not necessarily thoughtful. I love the idea. I think I'm fascinated by tattoos. I'm fascinated by the courage that it might take to actually create something permanent on your body. I wonder what it is about that, about marking ourselves. I mean, human beings, we need to make our mark. I think that's just a part of being alive. That,
yeah.
hey, B, the push to like that kind of I was here thing since the beginning of times, whether it was like a hand on the wall of a cave or whatever. We need to make meaning of these experiences we're going through. But to do it on yourself, that's fascinating. Or to have someone mark, like create that on your body. I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, it's really cool, and a lot of it has magical origins. People find it to be healing, and a lot of people now even say that when they're not necessarily of a culture that uses it for purposes like that. They talk about going to the tattoo shop and you get like a memorial tattoo of someone that you love or an animal, or to remember like a trauma that you've overcome. It has like a healing quality to it.
A lot of your work has a thread of healing going through it, or healing, but also is like processing. As sort of my art, when I wear my art therapist hat. I'm not wearing that today, folks, but when I do, I think I like often look at you. I'm like, Christine could be an art therapist. Where does that come from?
Maybe eventually. Well, that's the funny thing. So a lot of artists that I listen to, especially professionals, they talk about how they always wanted to be an artist.
Yeah.
Like, just like a professional. They're like, yep, art's my life. That's what I want to do. I want to make art for people. That wasn't necessarily my journey with art.
What was your journey?
I always loved it, but it was always personal. And eventually I saw art as a way to get into other industries that I felt like I couldn't get into, if that makes sense. Like, I love history and I love science, but it was kind of I felt like a dream that couldn't come true to have like a degree in science or something. But I found when I was young that they needed artists, they needed scientific illustrators, they needed people at archaeology sites to draw. And I was like, oh, I can do that. So it was like that, like me using art to be part of things that were bigger than me.
Yeah.
And then also the personal part of dealing with stuff in my life. I wasn't on any sports teams in high school. There weren't art classes at my second high school. There were no art anything. No art history, no poetry class, nothing.
What?
So yeah. So art was like something I did for myself, to just process stuff.
So it sounds like it happened very organically. It was just something you reached out for and it was there for you.
Yeah, it was like something I knew how to do, and people thought that it was cool. I always thought it was like kind of fun and easy. So when I heard that people pay you to do it, I was like, that's weird, that's cool. I'll do that. And yeah, it's always been really personal. So a lot of my art comes from a personal place. So that's probably what you see is like, yeah, I'm using it to catalog my experiences and make art about things that I'm interested in. And
yeah. What are you working on these days? Is there anything new that's happening, or?
There's a few things, but I'm trying to expand the flowers. Like, I have more of these.
You could show them if you like. Oh, yeah.
Well, these. Wait, it goes this way.
I love those.
I like how this one came out. I was trying to draw the spiral of the
Oh,
rose. Do you see it in the middle?
yes, yeah.
Yeah. And then this guy. So I'm just trying to make more of these because everyone likes them and I really like painting them. So doing more of that.
Almost like, so you really like, you mean you like painting them in the sense that, like, has it become almost like a meditation for you now that you can sit down and it doesn't have to be that much, when you're working on something and it could be any kind of art, any kind of modality, and it feels like you're figuring it out, you're making mistakes, it's kind of grinding along. And then with other things, you get to a place where you have that comfort and ease that you can kind of just roll with it. And yeah. So
yeah, because I've grown this way for a while, so now it's like not as much thinking. I've kind of worked out how to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's meditative. And the reason I started drawing and painting flowers was because I was processing stuff from my childhood. And it's often that we tend to hold on to the trauma and the bad things, which is fine. Like, you need to process those, but it's also important to try and find those little gold nuggets of like good things, right?
Yeah.
So I try to think about all the beautiful and good things from my childhood, like things that always make me happy, that I don't have any negative experiences around. And a lot of it was nature and flowers. Just like so many childhood memories of like smelling a honeysuckle bush or watching the bees pollinate all the dandelions, or for some reason I remember the flowers in everyone's yard. Like all the houses that I visit, I remember the flowers they had in their yard. For some reason my brain was like, you must know that grandma had a rose bush over here, right? Like, yeah, I remember that and they make me happy. So then I realized I associated flowers with different people. So I decided to explore that.
Wow.
So like, my great grandmother is an orange blossom. And when I thought about that, I realized why. Because I remember her telling me that her favorite Christmas present was an orange. When she was a little girl, it was a rare thing to get, something like that. Like, that was before refrigerator trucks. So, so I associate her with like oranges and citrus and orange flowers. And so just, things like that. So I like to think about people while I paint the flowers. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
really long-winded.
No, not long-winded at all.
That's how my creative process works. Is like it will be something simple like a flower, but I've taken a long journey to get there. So. And
it sounds like every flower, even though stylistically there might be a sense of like something that carries on from one image to the next. It seems like each flower can still have quite personal meaning attached to it, a quite unique meaning to each flower that you create. That's beautiful. I freaking love artists. I love you. I love you.
I love you,
Mary. That's interesting though, because the last time, I think it was during last week's live stream, you also mentioned that, and this kind of links back to, it sounds like it links back to your curiosity with sort of the scientific botanical drawings. You mentioned that you're drawing fruit, but also the blossom that becomes that fruit. Is that tied into that somehow?
Yeah, it's one of those things that I didn't really think about when I was a kid, but as an adult, I'm like, wait, like almost every fruit and vegetable starts as a flower, or like apple trees, they blossom, right?
Yeah.
So, and I love flowers, so I'm like, why don't I just draw like the fruit and the flower and how they change? And I don't know, it's just a fun thing to explore, and they're pretty, so yeah, why not?
I can't wait to see those. I don't know if you have any now that you'd feel comfortable sharing, or if it's still too early.
No, they're like unfit. Like this one's the work in progress. It's a pomegranate flower.
Oh wow. Also
red, obviously. And this one gets really weird. Like it folds in on itself and then becomes the pomegranate. It's really weird looking. Like, plants are cool, so it's fun to draw them.
I won't argue with you. I won't argue. I'm when any gardeners out there, and I know we have some gardeners watching, every year I have little, I'm lucky enough that I have some, space in my yard for gardens and for growing veg and stuff. And every year I try to grow zucchinis. Now, everyone else in the world has no problem growing zucchinis, but it's me, a battle between me and those zucchini beetles. It's too complicated to get into now. It's too dark. But
You'll figure
there's
it out.
the zucchini flowers, I think, are some of the most beautiful flowers
Hmm.
of the summer season. I look forward to seeing them blossom every year. Again, that kind of weird, slightly creature-like shape to them. That's just so
Yeah,
fascinating. Yeah.
yeah, it is. And it's cool because the flowers are a way of nature communicating with I was about to say something really weird. I believe in the interconnectedness of everything, so sometimes I say something kind of weird like
Go for it,
flowers,
Christine.
nature's communicating with other nature. Like flowers are communicating with the bees and other insects, right?
Yeah.
And birds. And it's kind of cool when you look at them that way. Like that flower is saying something
Hmm.
and then it's going to become something. It's really trippy. Uh, yeah.
Not
And
that
a lot
trippy.
and a lot of fruits have what would you call it? Like history, like human history. Like the pomegranate has a lot of different spiritual connections. Like there's the goddess Persephone, I believe her
Hmm.
name is.
Yeah.
Her fruit was the pomegranate. Um, Queen, oh, what was her name? One of the queens of Spain. She chose the pomegranate as her symbol.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, they have a lot of history too. So you can like pick a fruit and do research on it. Like they used to make greenhouses shaped like pineapples, and there's a history to like tomatoes and which is technically a fruit. I forget that all the time, but it's technically a fruit. So
I think it's interesting to see what humans have bestowed value on throughout
yeah,
time. And it
yeah,
hasn't always been what we consider valued now. Um, but yeah, I love how you link the historical, the stories from history with the objects themselves, and then the process of creation, the relationship that those things have. That's
yeah.
one of the things I love about your work. I love
Well,
it.
thank you. I'm glad you appreciate it because it's definitely my nerdy side. So
Keep being
I like
nerdy.
to make it, yeah, I like to make things that people just like to look at, but
Mm,
I also like doing the history behind it, and there's always a story behind everything I do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can I move on and ask a little bit about, is there anything about how you're doing now, I guess? Like we know a little bit about what you're working on during this time, but how have you been? Like, how is this period of strangeness impacting the work that you do?
Um, well, at first I was like, oh no, I don't get to work, which is stressful, but I'll get to make more art. So at
Mm,
first I was excited, and I was writing a lot and making a lot of art. Um, but then it started to kind of die down because as stress picks up, all those motivators inside of your body that make you creative suddenly just they don't want to do anything. So then I started to get unmotivated. Um,
how did you deal with that period? Like, how are you dealing with that?
well, one thing I've learned is to be patient with myself and to be kind to myself.
Mm,
You
mm,
know, at the end of the day, we're just human, we're just living, and I try not to use the word should very often. Should, like I should be doing something. We don't have to
yeah,
be productive. Are you alive? Are you okay? Do you have food? Do you have shelter? If not, try and like do what you can. Like we don't need to be productive. We don't need to do a lot of things that we feel pressure to do.
yeah.
So when I feel unmotivated, I just take a day or two off. I do something relaxing or I try something different. I try and take it easy on myself and not be so hard on myself. So that's how I handle it. And then eventually your motivation can come back. Um, if it gets so bad that I feel so stressed, like if my stress is at level 10, then I kind of force myself to make art, but art about my stress. So I'll journal, or I'll like draw little doodles about what I'm feeling
Yeah.
to help myself just kind of, what's the word? Cathartic? Get
Yep.
it out? Yeah. Especially during a time like this, because then one day we'll look back and be like, oh yeah, this happened. This really big thing happened.
I think about that a lot lately with And some of it is in response to that toxic positivity movement that is, I think they've quietened down a little bit, thank goodness, but that sense of like, you got to use this time, you got to use it wisely, you got to make and create and come out better the other side. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I just want to come out the other side. I don't necessarily, like, I'm okay. I just want to come out the other side. Why do I have to be better at the end of this? Or why do I have to work at becoming better? I think, and I hope that perhaps we'll all come out having learned something, but not because we have to. It's not a responsibility. We don't know anyone else anything other than, you know, just taking care of ourselves and loving and appreciating one another. Being kind. But it can be difficult, that, especially because I think artists, we might deal with this regularly. Like, it might not just be a quarantine thing. You know, our value can sometimes be so fragile, tied to what we produce. And so I wonder if some artists are struggling a little bit more because of that right now, because, you know, it's just heightened a little bit, that sense of, well, I've got all this time now. What are my excuses? You know, if I can't blame the normal excuses, what can I do? I don't know.
It definitely, when there's a change in your time, a change in your life, it stirs things up.
Yeah.
And it's easy to just try and ignore those feelings, but I find addressing them really helps, and to ask yourself, like, why do I make art, or why do I feel the need to be productive, and just question your feelings and get to know them better. But you reminded me of something I was joking around with some other artists about. I'm a member of the Dark Arts Society, and we've been doing Friday night.
Pause. What's the Dark Arts Society?
I know it sounds creepy, but it's not.
No,
so
that's fascinating.
Some of my art's like pretty happy flowers, but some of it's kind of like skulls and stuff you would see on a metal, like heavy metal album, right?
Okay.
And there's a whole community for that. Artists that work in like the horror industry, or, you know, make music videos for heavy metal bands, or some of them are just, they're professional fine artists, and they have galleries and they do oil paintings, and that's how they make their living.
Awesome.
But the subject matter or the style is considered low art, as, you know, the art world likes to call it.
Why?
Lowbrow art.
Why do you think?
I think it's a long history of just how people in the West treat art, because it's not, I do see some of the treatment in other parts of the world, but in the Western world, people don't really like things that make them uncomfortable, or they have like a really narrow view of what art should be, or what it should be about, and what it should look like. So there's a whole bunch of people that decided to not hide in the shadows anymore, and that it's actually good to kind of address the darker side, the shadow side of things. So we have a little community, and we support each other. There's some of the nicest, most supportive artists I've ever met. Like the Living Room School, and they're really nice and supportive too. And that was like a nice little oasis in my experience of the art world, which hasn't always been positive. But then I met the Dark Art Society, and they're like an extension of that. They're like another little group. A lot of them are vegan or vegetarian and are against like the cruelty of animals, which is, it's like the stereotype that people have about, a lot of them are tattoo artists, people that are kind of pushed off to the side.
Yeah.
But they're some of the nicest, coolest people you'll ever meet. But we meet every Friday on a little, like this, like a live stream together. And we were all joking about how for a lot of them, quarantine doesn't feel different, because they just sit in their home studio like all day painting.
Yeah.
So like 2 hours a day, they're like, oh, is the world different outside? I can't tell. Like, it doesn't feel that different to them. Because they're always just having to just paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
talking in the chat. I'm trying to read it at the same time.
Well, yeah, well, let's see. Does anyone have any questions for Christine? Again, if like, we can find a way to get Christine questions if you want to send them to us if we can't answer them now. I think there's a lot of, I think, well, B's just acknowledging that sense of feeling pressure to produce, to instead of just letting, like, processing what's happening right now, which is pretty freaking intense. Like, we're allowed to process this. We're allowed, if we can, like, if we're privileged enough to not be, you know, an essential service, working our butts off to try and help everyone else. And, you know, hats off. Thank you very much. So much to all those folks. But if we're able to process this and simply let ourselves be impacted, be affected by this, we'll be able to move through it much more, I think, with more strength or more resilience than one, pretending nothing's happening, or two, trying to feel better, trying to force ourselves to become something or be in a place we're not at.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Oh, there's go ahead.
That's your question.
Yeah.
Are people changing what materials they use due to quarantine? Yeah, there's some art supplies I haven't been able to buy. So I'm kind of working with what I have. Because you can't just leave whenever you want to go get art supplies.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I mean, I'm very fortunate. I have quite a few things. But that excuse of like going art shopping to inspire myself, I haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, it's been difficult in some ways. Other ways, like I'm still lucky I have a key to the studio, so I can rate it whenever I need to, which is, you know, and I've done that a couple of times. Again, I'm trying not to go out because I want to be respectful of all the restrictions and people's wellness. So, but I find myself turning to, it's kind of inspired by a lot of the stuff I see for kids. I don't know about you, Christine, like exploring like recyclables, like I'm like paper bags. I can do something with paper bags.
Oh yeah, I love painting on paper bags.
Yeah, the alternative surfaces and things like that. Yeah, it's that feeling at like, again, just coming back. I don't know. I think changing the materials, I think there's some things that I have around that I've not tried before that I might finally sort of put in front of myself and force myself to play with. You know, so I don't know if anyone else out there has items or materials like that around. Are you trying anything drastically new? Do you have any hopes or dreams about things you'd like to try during this time?
I've really wanted to learn how to oil paint. I've never actually used oil paint before. So, and I have like a little, like someone gave me a little packet to try, so I might try and learn that. I have a little canvas for, or a panel, right? Like, it's better to paint on a panel, I think. And then I don't have an excuse now, right? To try something new. So, but I'm really nervous about it. It's really hyped up in my head. I associate oil painting with like my idols and my heroes in the art world. And I know it's so silly, but I do. Like, all the really great artists worked in oil, and so I pick it up and I get a little nervous. I'm like, what if it's ugly? And I know it's completely different than watercolor and acrylic because they dry fast.
Yeah.
And oil doesn't, so it'll be a big change for me. But
what if you tried making something ugly on purpose?
I remember you mentioning that to someone in the studio, and I loved it. You were like, try and make the ugliest piece of art you can do. And it was like the funniest, fun thing ever. Like, we all got into it. I remember it being like this really cool contraption. That's a good idea.
Well, it's hard when, I think anytime we start comparing what we want to do to others we appreciate or admire, a little wall gets built up. It can be the thing that pushes you forward. It helps motivate some people, but I think, I mean, speaking for myself personally, I know it can also be the thing that paralyzes me a little bit, freezes me up a little bit, right? And that, I'm just looking at Brandon was saying, yeah, that it's interesting too, because we have this idea of time off, that we need to get as much done as possible. I find that really stressful as well. Yeah, but it's a strange thing, that idea to produce, and the idea that we all have a feeling of who is sitting at home doing nothing, like that we all have all this time. I think no one is really assuming that or looking at us with those expectations. We're the only ones building up those expectations of ourselves and making those assumptions.
Yeah.
Just be gentle with ourselves. If you get to the oil paints, you get to the oil paints. If you don't, that's okay too.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at it right now. It's like the little like panels right there, just looking at me.
Just keep talking to them. Just every day you go by them, just say, hey, hi, how you doing?
I am super thankful that we all still have internet. and that there's so much free stuff on YouTube. So I can just Google like how to oil paint on YouTube
Yeah.
and someone's made a tutorial for free. And that's something that didn't exist when I was a kid. Like used to just not know how to do things. I don't know about you, or like go to the library, which made me a nerd, back then.
I love
There
that.
was, there was no Google or YouTube, so.
But that's another side effect of having technology, that the expectation that all of us can be an expert in something if we really try. And I miss just stumbling around in the dark sometimes. I'm very good at that. I don't necessarily achieve the things I dream of, but I think having a little bit of that stumbling time, like last week, I think, or there was a conversation we were having about boredom and how boredom can be a lovely thing to experience if you can just sort of be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, boredom's like the best. Like that's when you come up with your best ideas, because your brain gets to kind of just meander and explore.
Mm.
And you can find ways to be busy. I remember my dad, when I used to tell him I was bored, he'd give me a chore. He's like, okay, well, you can be bored or you can mow the lawn. And suddenly, oh no, I just thought of something I can do. I can, Yeah.
It's good to allow our brains some of that time just to be simple, just to be still. Yeah. And it looks like, so a lot of folks like Zombie Art Squad, routine. Having a routine helps too. Yeah. There's so many opportunities out there. There's so many resources available online right now. Sometimes I don't know about you, but I'm finding just, I gotta turn it off sometimes because there's so many options that, I don't know. I got to stop learning and I have to kind of start doing. It can become very easy for me just to slide, that rabbit hole just pulls me into it. And I'm learning all these things and getting excited about stuff, but never doing anything.
Yeah, like now that we have technology, it's really easy to just spend all your time consuming stuff, like, movies and stories and podcasts and videos, just not like nonstop. You could just stare at that stuff all day. But I actually schedule it in. I call it radio silence. I unplug myself from that stuff.
Nice.
Like the only thing I'm allowed to do on my phone or laptop is play podcasts or music, and that's it. And I tell myself, like, no, you have plenty of time. The videos aren't going anywhere.
True.
Everything's streaming now. I'm not going to miss it. It will be there when I want to see it. And then I also ask myself, what is this giving to me? That's one way I've been checking myself, because a lot of that stuff is kind of programmed to make you just keep watching and keep consuming, right?
Back to the psychology again.
Yeah, I always nerd out and think about those things, like what is my brain doing and why is my body doing this? So I've learned to just, if I get caught in a rabbit hole, I stop and then I go, what is this giving to me? Is this just entertainment? Is it just making me feel connected to someone? Am I actually learning anything? Like, is this giving me something that will make my life better? It's kind of about, yeah. Sometimes I realize, like, actually, no, I'm just kind of just watching, nothing, and I need to stop, and it helps me, disconnect from that.
I feel like if we can build that, it's another way of building structure into our days or our lives, just that sense of intentionality. Like today or right now, I'm going to watch YouTube. I'm going to find or seek this thing or watch this thing, enjoy this thing. And then when it stops being, like, just taking time to check in about that, to see, am I enjoying this? That's that's a beautiful skill to have at hand.
It takes time. It takes awareness.
Yeah.
I think the reason why I have become so self-aware of it is technically I have ADHD. I've been diagnosed since I was very young. And even though sometimes medication is used to help, most of the most useful advice was literally just learning to schedule or to think about my time and to check in with myself and be like, wait, what am I doing and why? And to slow down, because a lot of people with ADHD get hurt by accident a lot because we tend to go too quickly.
Oh.
Like this is, I'm not just making it up, it's a statistic. We tend to get hurt more because we just go, and we're all over the place. And so I've had to learn with the help of therapists to just stop and be like, wait, what am I doing? Why? Slow down. And then it makes me more aware of things, right? Because I'll stop and I'm like, wait, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
I can relate to that a little bit. I think that happens to me a dozen times every hour. The what? Where am I? What am I doing? What? Why am I here? Why am I in this room?
Like, where was I going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know about you, but I'm trying to take care of myself and just let that be the thing that guides me. And although when I think about you, there's also something that I think of, it kind of ties into this idea too, of being gentle to yourself, but also having a kind of daily practice that gives you joy. And like mindfully being able to shake that up when you need to, or walk away from it when you have to. But just that sense, you were the one who introduced me to the idea of finished, not perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's his name? Jake? Is it Jake Parker?
Maybe it was a Jake something. So I'll find it and I'll put a link on Facebook for folks afterwards.
Yeah, when he worded that, I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, so I started trying to practice that myself, and it's true.
Can you explain a little bit about it?
Well, I think a lot of us feel pressure to be perfect or to make perfect work. I remember that kind of myth was, I had started to go to art school and then dropped out. And I remember when I was in art school, my experience wasn't that great. And one of the myths that they told me was basically like the idea of the masterpiece and perfection, and like every time you sit down with a painting, this could be like in a gallery one day, and it was just very serious, a lot of pressure and a lot of critiquing, and it made me really anxious. It's that, along with the other things in the world, just kind of everyone's always talking about your full potential and the best you, and right, like there's some kind of ideal self and some kind of ideal thing that you should be producing.
Like, we're not okay just as we are.
Yeah, that is
not enough.
That you're not enough, and that you're broken, or that, you know, and then how do you decide something's a masterpiece or that it's complete? Because I might like a painting now and then change my mind in a few years. So that kind of mindset can get you stuck, and you end up being really stressed and having an unhealthy relationship with your art. And I found it more useful to take his advice and to focus on just finishing it, not perfection, just finish it. Whatever you learn from that process, you can apply it to the next thing, right? If you finish something, you've learned something.
Yeah.
And if you don't like how it turned out, just use that for the next piece. Stop trying to make every piece perfect. Just complete something.
Yeah.
And then move on to the next thing. I can't remember, I don't know if it was Picasso, it was one of the famous guys who said something like, don't worry about deciding if it's good art or not, just keep making art. Do you know what do you know the quote I'm talking about?
I do. I'm trying to,
well,
or Kurt Vonnegut or Warhol or something like that. Oh, yeah. I'll find that as well. I'll share that afterward as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that same idea, just make art. Like, it doesn't matter if it's good, bad, perfect. If you like it, just let someone else decide if they like it or not, and just move on and make it. So
yeah,
finished but not perfect.
But just do it. I think someone I saw in the comments thread earlier, someone just saying, just do it. Yeah.
Like, if you don't like something, just move on. Like when I got on the other end of that, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, it doesn't matter if it's perfect or not. Just keep making art and just keep going. And there's been a few times where I don't like an art piece so much that I hate it, but instead of trying to obsess over it, I just turn it into something else.
Yeah.
I'll tear up old drawings and turn them into a collage. Like, perfection doesn't exist. Just focus on finishing something and trying something.
Yeah. And our idea of what perfect might be will probably change as we move along and as we grow anyways. So that idea of this thing we need to be, no, if you focus on what you are, it'll help get you there. Yeah. Well, yeah. I've been keeping you on for 45 minutes, my friend.
Oh, I didn't even realize.
I know this is where we ran into the, I don't want to go over because Instagram shuts me off. It says, no, you can't just talk forever. But on that note, like that's some beautiful kind of advice for folks. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share? Any final sort of things you'd like to share with folks who are listening about creating?
Sure. I'm trying to think of how to word this. So art can be a lot of different things, but the more I study it, the more I realize that one of its main purposes is to help us make a story. Humans thrive off story. Our brain does it automatically. We've done it since the dawn of time. We make meaning out of things. We make stories out of things. So what I do for myself, and I hope other people can do, is don't worry about making a product or something that's perfect or even like a legacy. Just think about your story and the kind of stories you want to tell and the things that are important to you in your life, and just make art about that. Like that's like we were talking about the cave paintings, yeah, where they put their hands on. I don't think they were sitting there like, is this something I can like market to the other cavemen for them to like, or is this like they were just probably, they wanted to do it and it meant something to them.
Yeah.
And now we'll never know what it meant 100%. But as humans, we understand the need to create, and I'm sure it had powerful meaning for them. So just tell your story, even if it's just in a diary for yourself. Just, there's power in storytelling. So, yeah.
Wow.
That's what I can really think of.
That's good enough. That's amazing. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh,
it's nice to figure this out. Like, yeah.
No, it's lovely. Thank you so much for being our guest. And I'll share, we'll figure out a way to share all those links with folks once we say bye-bye to Christine over on Facebook. And I think I'm going to share a link to your shop as well, your online shop, in case folks want to show you some love in that way and support an artist. Supporting our artists is really important right now. But yeah, you're awesome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. And we'll hopefully see you again soon.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow on the Facebook live stream or something. You never know.
Oh, that's tomorrow. What time is that?
2 p.m. 2 p.m. on Facebook. Yeah.
2 p.m. on Facebook. Okay.
Oh, Christine, thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Boop. Oh, wow. That was lovely. So thanks everyone for watching. Thank you, Christine, for being our guest. Again, I'm going to share a whole bunch of links over on Facebook so you can watch the Finished Not Perfect YouTube clip that we were talking about. And, just if you guys have any other resources that you've been reminded of through this conversation that you'd like to share with us as well, so we can share them with our wider community, please feel free to message me, send them my way. These are important conversations to have, and I'm so glad that we're having them. Yeah. So again, thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder again, tomorrow on Facebook we'll be live streaming at 2 p.m. Just an hour and a half of hanging out, chatting, making art. I will be focusing, I have been issued with a challenge, a smile window challenge. I don't know if you folks have heard of this, but Santiago, one of my 10-year-old friends in the community, challenged me to make one of those. So I'm going to be putting together my pieces for that window decoration tomorrow. And also, something happening this Friday with Sing Along Tim that I might be a part of. I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to say. Did I just spoil something? Maybe. Oh no. Okay. Enough said. I better get out of here. Guys, thank you again for being here. And until we can create and connect again in person, I look forward to connecting with you again here. Okay? Bye.